but the chair now recognizes Mr. Moskowitz for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I apologize for my tardiness. I want to thank the committee and the members who have looked at the anti-Semitism that we've seen in our universities and the hearing that we saw many weeks ago, and the fact that there's discussion to have a staff member specifically on the education committees to focus on the prevalence of anti-Semitism on our universities. I also want to point out that I was the emergency management director for the state of Florida during COVID for Governor DeSantis. And we did reopen our schools. And that was an evidence-based decision at that time, because remember, we were dealing with Alpha, right? That was the COVID strain that we had. There was no Delta, there was no Omicron. It was Alpha, and the data was clear. If you looked at countries in Europe who were ahead of us, that it was not affecting kids. And now, in hindsight, it is super clear that the states that stayed closed on their schools has dramatically hurt kids, minority kids, and kids from poverty-stricken neighborhoods. There's no doubt that it has hurt them more by the schools being closed. And so, I think on a go-forward basis, these are the things that have to be balanced, and I think Florida got it right when it came to handling schools and what to do there. But, Madam Chairwoman, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up something that has not made any sense to me in the 118th Congress. I'm from the city of Parkland. I'm a graduate of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. I just walked the Secretary of Education through the freshman building that is a time capsule to the shooting of February 14th that happened now 6 years ago. The building is exactly as it was the day of the shooting, minus the victims. Every backpack, every shoe that fell off, the homework that is on the desk that day for that student, what's on the dry erase board, the computers that are on the desk, and of course, the evidence of the shooting, the bullet holes, the blood, the DNA, that the horrors within those walls of what took place there on February 14th. And look, I was in the state legislature that worked on the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, the bipartisan bill that dealt with gun violence, mental health, and school safety. In Florida, we raised the age to buy any gun to 21, instituted red flag laws, which have now been used 12,000 times in the state of Florida since we put that in place. 12,000 times law enforcement has deemed someone a danger to themselves or a danger to others and has taken their weapons and given them a hearing, a due process hearing, to show that they can have them back. Being used by Republican sheriffs all over the state, saving lives, 3-day waiting periods, and hundreds of millions of dollars for mental health and school safety. I know we have disagreements on stopping the gun from getting to the school, but I implore my colleagues to look at school safety. If you, and I have brought my Republican colleagues, some of them through the building, if you look at the failures of that building and how the failures of how that school was built contributed to the deaths, there is so much we can do on a bipartisan basis on school safety. How the doors get locked, what the windows are made of, making sure our teachers are trained, making sure the students, God forbid something comes to school, know where to hide, what corners to go to. They didn't know that at Douglas. They ran right into the site of the shooter. The shooter never entered a classroom. He killed either people in the hallway or he shot through the window the little window that these class doors have. All these classrooms had steel doors. The bullets went right through them. They were hollow. And so there are lots of things we can do on school safety, which is why I started the Bipartisan School Safety Caucus with Representative Gonzalez from Uvalde. Right? Both of us have seen what the failures look like, even if you do everything you can and the gun still gets to the school. We have to figure out how we can work on school safety. And I plead with my Republican colleagues, in the next year, we're focused on all these distractions, but there is a lot of bipartisan work we can do to mitigate and save kids and teachers and faculty who work in these schools. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Moskowitz.